Hey, Spencer.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Nice to have you back on the show.
Glad to be here. Yeah, it's been a little bit, but not too long.
Yeah, not too long. Well, you had lots of great reviews.
That's always good.
You're my least deleted episode, so I thought, hey, let's bring you back.
Yeah. Always a good sign. Yeah.
No, actually, we got really good reviews from your last podcast episode, so thank you for that. I think there's just a lot of first there's uncertainty. People don't know about the web, and then social media, and it gets bigger and deeper every rock you turn over.
Yeah, it seems that way. And it's always changing too. There's new social platforms that come out, every year, 2 or 3 years, and Google's always changing. And so it's just a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, yeah, and I think lots of people just give up and have their website or their social as just more of a banner. Like it's there if people want to see it, they can look at it. But today we're going to talk about a different angle on that, which is how people buy online.
Yeah, I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk about, the way people shop and buy and really how that's changed. And I mean, as I would imagine most people know that it's changed dramatically, but kind of diving into some of the specifics of, how that works and why that is.
Yeah, and especially for the trades business. I mean, that's where you and I are experts in, right? I mean, Builder Fund. Sorry, let's step back. If somebody hasn't heard your prior podcasts, can you tell us who's Spencer Powell and what the heck you're doing on the Cabinet Maker Profit System show anyway?
Sure. So I guess I got into the whole marketing space through the building space in a little bit of a roundabout way. My family's been in the home building business for over 100 years. I think it's like 107 years or something out in the Seattle area. So great-great-grandfather started a building business, kept getting passed down generationally. I have only just done a little bit of work on the building side, but I kind of came into the marketing side through another family business, and we started working with that business as kind of our first client. We said, hey, we need to get you online. We need to start generating leads and doing all these different things, and really help them grow from about 2 million to 5 million kind of coming out of the recession. Wow. We said, hey, let's help some other people do this, as well. And so we kind of combined like the marketing expertise and the background in, building and construction, and said, hey, let's go help some more people like that. So that's kind of the short version of the long story.
Yeah. Well, part of your background is with direct mail too, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the other business. So my grandfather on the other side had started a direct mail business. My dad bought it in the mid 90s. And then as that was kind of crashing in the recession, my dad brought me on and said, hey, we need to figure out the digital space and kind of transform our company, because there were a lot of direct mail companies going out of business. So he was pretty early on in recognizing that that was going to be pretty much toast. And so we got in, we started creating that division and building it up. And then eventually he was able to sell off the direct mail piece. And then Builder Funnel was that division that started, just us thinking about it. And now it's a team that helps builders and remodelers all over the country. So
yeah, well, you're well qualified to be on this show. I will tell you, we still use, or I still in my coaching use direct mail as a marketing tactic.
Totally.
Because everything old is new again.
Yeah, nobody's using it, so there's less people in the mailbox.
That's right. So it's and we actually do something, a handwritten note card. It's called an opportunity marketing note card, and there's a little system that goes along with that. The what to say, the return script, what happens when you phone back, and the conversion rate's pretty good. It's 3 out of 10.
That's awesome. Yeah.
For conversations, 3 out of 10 for conversations, not deals.
Sure, but that's what you want. Yeah, you're just trying to generate some opportunities.
Yeah. So everything old is new again. So maybe the direct mail side of Builder Funnel will pick up again one day.
Yeah, someday. Yeah.
But today you're here to talk to us about how people shop and buy today. And I mean, who we're talking to, right? Here on this show is cabinet makers, joiners, architecture mill workers, carpenters on one side. On the other side is the kitchen cabinet and refinishing people. So there's kind of two different markets. There's the more industrial commercial market where they're selling to general contractors that are building, commercial space. And then there's also the residential sales side. So it'd be interesting to see how you tease apart that path of buying for our listeners today.
Yeah, well, and I think, no matter what business we're in, everybody's using the web in some form or fashion during the buying process. And so I think what I've noticed is that kind of just taking kind of a broad step back, if you were to buy anything, TV, you would go to a store and you would talk to a salesperson and they would say, hey, we've got this selection of TVs and here's the different features. And like the salesperson had all the cards, right? That was, I think, the main distinction. Whereas, today, if you go to buy anything, you can go online and get all that information. Right. And so I think for this industry, it's the same way, whether you're selling to another business, so a GC, or you're selling residentially, those people, when they're looking for the answer to their problem or the service, or whatever it is, they're going to go online. Sure, they're going to maybe tap into their network and everything, but more and more people want to go online, see what they can find out about the company. And even if they already know you, they're definitely going to go to your website and find out more about you. So, but I think the big thing that we've noticed is just that now the salespeople don't have all the cards. All the information is on the table, and the table is the internet.
Yeah. So, and it's the great leveler, isn't it? Because if you don't exist on the internet, you don't exist.
Absolutely.
If you've got an old website, you're old-fashioned.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's really the cool opportunity for a lot of smaller companies, is that the internet is your leverage. And so Google doesn't know how big your company is. They just know what your website has, the information that's there, how good it is. So if you're a 2, 3, 4, 5-person shop versus a 50-person company, if you have a great website, you're blogging, you have tons of social media, you have all this content, your website can easily outrank that 50-person company if they're not doing anything, because it doesn't matter the size of your company, it just matters what you're doing online.
Yeah, and that's talking about a website from the position of marketing, right? Which is getting interest from people who are surfing the web. What about if we talk about a website from the position of conversion rate, which is something you and I would know? So I'll do this for a second, and then you correct me. So, folks, conversion rate is just like a batting average in baseball. When you get up to bat, how many times do you actually hit? And so you got a 300, 3 out of 10, right? So how many deals do you see and how many do you convert? Or how many people come to your website and how many convert, that is, buy from you or take some sort of action? Let me stop there and see if Spencer's going to tear me apart. Is that right?
No. I mean, that's the way we think about it. Only somebody in our industry isn't necessarily going to make an end purchase from the website, but they'll basically enter the sales process. So yeah, if you have 100 people visit your website and 2 people fill out a form or give you a call and say, hey, we want to set up a meeting, then you've got a 2% conversion rate. And I would say all the sites I look at, kind of the standard is about a 0.5% conversion rate. And I say standard meaning that's where people are at. When we take on a site or when we're working on conversion rate, I like to see that between 1.5% and 2.5%. You can get it north of that, depending on traffic and how well optimized you've converted. But that 0.5% is really, really low. So people come, they look around, they leave.
Yeah, bounce rate.
Yeah.
Now, sort of a sub-question to that, can I ask you just when I come to a website, when a buyer comes to a website, what do I expect to see? What are the bare minimums? And the reason I ask that is because people listening might think, I'm killing time listening to this podcast. I've already got a website. But I'm hoping you can shine some light here so there's value for the owners listening to understand where there's an opportunity.
Yeah, I'm going to approach this question from a little bit of a different angle. I don't want to give the typical, here's the specific pages you need, because I think most people, and we can definitely drill into that if that's of interest, but I think the whole point of what people are looking for is they're looking for answers. They're looking for information. And so if you kind of go back to our original, I guess, how we entered this conversation, which was the salesperson used to have all the cards, today we kind of need to lay all our cards on the table. So people want to know about cost. They want to know about timeline. They want to know about process. They want to know who's on your team. They want to know how the company was started. They have all these questions about how this works, and they want that information now, and they want it on the website. So I guess it's kind of a broad answer, but people are always going to jump immediately to whatever they're looking for. And so if they want to see the quality of work, they're probably going to look at your portfolio. If they really care about reputation and brand, they might go look at your team and see qualifications and, how long have they been in business and all these things. And part of them, part of those people might just be looking for, like I said, just general information, like how long is this going to take if I want to, redo all the cabinets in my house? What does the process look like? Do I just show up and order them, or do we have to go through design? And the questions go on and on. So I think that the answer is they want information, and they want all of it.
And they want it all, whether they use it or not. They want it there.
Yeah. And I think about, if you buy anything, I'll just go back to the TV example. It's easy, but today you go to Amazon, you type in TV, you type in 46 inches, and then you'd read all the reviews, you'd read all the specs, you'd read the descriptions, you'd look at the photos, you'd watch any videos that you could, you gather. We love that. We love researching. And so people do the same thing in this industry. They want to research it, but many of us are not creating that content and putting it on our site.
Yeah, and it's pretty simple to create. I mean, the interesting thing there that I found is that, when you think about video, people don't have high expectations for video quality. I mean, the video has to be good, but they don't need it to be edited and turned into a movie. It just has to be, hey, this is our shop, thought you might like to see it, and you walk through the shop doing FaceTime on your phone, and then have your 11-year-old nephew upload it to your site, right? I mean, that's very basic, and I know you're not, that's not right, but I'm making a point to say, just get something out there so that people understand who you are and what your space looks like and how their product is going to get made.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, obviously, you want to make it as professional as you can and everything, but honestly, some video with good content is better than no video. And I say good content, I think that's the point you were kind of making, is if they get the information out of that video that they were looking for, then it's good content. And does it have to be super polished? Like, that's better, but no, it doesn't need to be, as long as they can get the information that they're seeking.
Yeah. So that's the first thing, is the how people shop and buy is the first thing they do is look online.
They look online, yeah, and they'll look at your website, but they might find you on another site too. If they're on a third-party site, they're looking at review sites. But yeah, I mean, it's really shifted so much in that people are going and they want to dive into all this information. And kind of the next piece really comes into play when I think a lot of people in our industry think about, how do I get business? Oh, it's always word of mouth or referral. But now even that is moving online, and people, sure, they'll ask their friends or their colleagues or, business connections, like, who should I work with for this, or who's a good resource? But they're going online and they're reading reviews about companies, and those become the referrals or the reference points, and they maybe don't know any of those people that wrote the reviews, but it's good enough. Like, oh, okay, enough people had 4 or 5 stars that I'm willing to reach out.
I was just talking to a kitchen cabinet manufacturer in the Silicon Valley, San Francisco.
Sure.
And the bulk of his business comes through Yelp.
Wow.
That's his new lead flow. He's got designers and architects he works with, but the new business, that's the unknown portion, is from Yelp reviews, believe it or not. And so I went and looked back at some of his Yelp reviews, and you can see the reviewer's name and location. And maybe this is just an indication of San Francisco's international flavor, but there's people there whose profiles say they live in Japan, but they just had kitchens made by this guy in San Fran. So they must be moving there for Google or Amazon or something. And
totally.
That's how they do things there. They right away, look it up on Yelp. And
yeah, and I think that's an interesting one, because you said, kind of San Francisco, and I think the more tech-minded cities probably are seeing that happen a lot faster. More of my business is coming from online reviews, or wow, I'm getting a lot less business. Why is that? Oh, maybe I don't have enough reviews online and enough digital content. But yeah, I think all that stuff, if you're not in a tech, I guess the techie city, so to speak, you'll probably have a chance to be at the forefront of that and start building those reviews, because it's going to keep moving along, and people adopt those things kind of in those tech centers first. We love new apps, new sites, and so those people jump all over stuff like Yelp. I wouldn't think Yelp would be a big driver for this industry, but in San Francisco, hey, there you go, it is. So
yeah, I think it's just the natural default for people in that town to look up everything on Yelp.
Yeah. And I think that makes a good point too, which is knowing your local market. Are people looking at Google reviews? Are they going to Houzz and they look at, that, or is it Yelp, or is it God forbid, is it yellow pages or super pages still? And
are people still going there?
Yeah, there's still people that, I mean, I run into people that are paying Yellow Pages a monthly fee to do some marketing program. So I know it exists.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people in different markets will use different, I guess, sites to leave their reviews or look for information.
So you just talked about reviews, and everybody listening here is an experienced tradesperson. So they've made beautiful cabinetry in the past, but they may not be experienced in asking for reviews. And just a second ago, you mentioned a website called House, which I think everybody knows, but maybe I'll ask you to restate what that is. And then, if you don't mind, can you tell us how I would go about getting a good review?
Sure. So we'll tackle House first. House is basically it's basically a social platform for our industry. So it's a place where if you're a company within the construction space, you can create a profile, you can list your projects, you can list the types of projects that you do, and also dollar ranges that you work in. So you can kind of self-qualify out some people by putting in a minimum if you don't want to work, below a certain amount. But then, of course, people like consumers are going there, so they're looking for design ideas and companies to do projects around their house. They even have like products that you can buy for your house on. But that's basically what they're trying to be, all things for the home, and it can be a great place to generate leads. To your second question, how do you go about getting reviews? Simple to explain. It actually ends up there's a few wrinkles within the process, it seems like, but we'll kind of walk through that. I think the first one is identifying where you have all of your local profiles created. So one of those would be like your Google My Business profile. So if you've ever done a Google search and you see people come up on the map and you click on that, that would be your Google local profile, or your Google My Business profile. And so you'll have reviews and you can see reviews there. You just mentioned Yelp. That would be another place that you might have a local profile. House would be another example. Facebook even is a place where you can get reviews. So that's where it starts to get a little bit more complex. We're going, okay, great. I don't just focus on getting reviews in one place. There's all these different places. So step number one would be go see where you have your profiles built out. Sometimes these sites will auto-generate them for you. So you may even have a profile on Yelp, even if you never created it, and there might even be a couple reviews there. So once you've identified, like, okay, here's where my profiles are, do you have any that have any negative reviews? Like maybe you have a Yelp profile that you never created and there's one person that left you a 1-star review and they just bashed you and you've never heard of this person. That would be a good place to focus on first, because anybody that goes to that Yelp profile, they're going to see 1 star, 1 review, and they're out of there. So you want to minimize any damage by trying to get like 3 or 4 reviews on top of that. Assuming you kind of have maybe just like a blank slate or a couple, good reviews here and there, then you kind of want to start focusing on one at a time and rotating through. So you might say, okay, this month I'm going to focus on getting Google reviews. Try to get a couple there. Then I'm going to go to Facebook, then House, then Yelp, then I'm going to go back to Google and just kind of keep cycling through. Because Google will look at all of your reviews across the board. So I think a lot of people think, oh, I need all of my reviews on Google, but that's not the case. They look at those other sites and look at those reviews.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's important to have reviews everywhere, and they don't, supposedly they're not ranking their own reviews on Google higher than, I guess weighting that more than reviews on another platform. They're taking it all into consideration.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, we'll see. But supposedly their goal is saying, hey, we're just trying to get the market's view of this company. And so we want to look at all these sites to get all the reviews. The actual execution, so how do you go about getting these reviews? I like to just use a simple template. So I just have an email template that you can craft, and you can just say, hey, dear customer, and fill in their name. We're looking to grow and help more company or more customers like yourself. We think we did a great job on your project. It really helps us attract more people like you, more great people like you, if you leave us a review here, and then link them to the exact location you want them to review in. So that's why I say rotate. So for 1 month, you might link them right to that Google profile where you want to get reviews.
Nice. Okay. Well, and for those of you listening who weren't able to write that down because you're on the treadmill and you're in your 23rd minute of the run, you can always look back on the transcript of this podcast and you'll see everything that Spencer said right there. And so you can be able to grab that right back out and turn that into a script that you use yourself in the company. Yeah.
And what I found too, don't get frustrated. You can send out a bunch of these requests and only, a few people will actually take the time to go and leave them. You can incentivize people to leave reviews. Hey, we'll give you a gift card if you don't mind leaving a review. I think Google publicly says that they don't want you doing that. They want it to be as organic as possible. Even the incentives, sometimes, people are like, it's a pain. I have to create an account with Google or whoever and create it. So don't get frustrated if you send out a bunch of these emails and you don't see, like you send out 10, you're not going to get 10 reviews. So you might have to send out, 10 and you'll get 1 or 2. Just be persistent, because just know that other companies, your competitors, are probably not making that effort. And so if you are just getting a few reviews, if you jump past your competitors, then you're going to be in good shape.
I suppose if your mom is writing a review, she shouldn't say, "My son builds the best cabinets ever, and you should use it."
May not have the impact you really want.
You want to have the right impact.
Yeah, totally.
So people buying and shopping online, they go online first, and word of mouth is just as important as it was in the old days when we were horse and buggy. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When your family's business started in Seattle 107 years ago.
Gosh, who knows what the world looked like back then?
Yeah, well, they certainly would not have imagined what we look like now.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. And so what else do we need to understand as business owners using our website as trying to get the most out of our website like we do with any other tool on the floor?
Yeah, I think for me, the big thing is kind of getting into that thought leadership mindset. And the way you do that is by answering these questions. So the easiest way to do this is just think about the last few sales calls you've been on, or the last few meetings you've been in. Think about all the questions that you get during that meeting. Those questions, if they're asking them in the sales process, I guarantee you there's a ton of people out there looking for that on Google as well.
Okay.
And so I just call it, FAQs. What are these questions that you get in the sales process, and start jotting those down. And you'll probably see some trends. You go, oh, a lot of people keep asking about process. They want to know what the steps are. Maybe we should create a page on our website that kind of outlines the process and answers that question. And it doesn't have to be super advanced, and you don't have to have all these fancy graphics. Yes, those things help, but at the end of the day, like we talked about with video, people just want the information. And so if it's not super polished, then at least they're able to get what they want. And so I start with those FAQs, and then suddenly you start creating this content, and people start Googling it, and they start finding your site. And now you become elevated above your competition, because they're going, they're going to hit your competitors' sites. They're going to browse all over the place.
Yeah.
But your site is the place where they can get all the information they want. So you must really know what you're talking about. And suddenly you're elevated above those guys.
So it really is just an extension of the way we've always liked to buy. It's just the power is really, really more and more in the hands of the buyer.
Absolutely.
Or the researcher, I guess, is what they are.
Yeah, and even if they can't find the specific information in your local market, they'll probably be able to find that somewhere else on another site. So they'll get the information somewhere, most likely, because there's some people that have created this content. You just want them to get the information from you, because that's how you start to build trust, and you can start to build that relationship with them. And plus, the transparency of it all. Imagine if you talked about cost on your website, which is something that we're recommending and doing for some other companies. And people search for cost, and they're finding that content, and they're, hitting the site, and it's like, hey, nobody else is talking about cost except us. Well, now everyone's on my site, because they're looking for it. And you don't have to be specific. You can say, hey, a general project could be between 20 and 40,000. Here's why it might be on the low end. Here's why it might be on the high end. Here's the different factors.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Like, you don't have to say, it's going to cost this exact $26,400. That's not a good practice to get into. But no. ranges is perfect.
Yeah. One of the interesting things about manufacturing in any in any industry, but specifically here, is that you can have a $100,000 project or a $10,000 project, and if it's made of Brazilian squirrel wood, I just made that up. It doesn't exist.
Sounds fancy.
Your product cost is really high.
Yeah.
Your product cost is insanely high. And if it's made of white melamine, your product cost is really, really low. And for business owners who aren't focused on profits and who are still caught up by the dream, that fake sugar high crash followed by the crash of what the revenue is, they get suckered into that. And unfortunately, that's not reality. It's the same with the people that are researching. If they think I saw this kitchen in Veranda magazine and that's what I want, okay, but that has a cost. And it's the same as the IKEA catalog. That has a cost, and we know the value from that versus what you're going to build.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think the other thing to think about too is like, what is common knowledge for us in the industry? It's not common knowledge for your customer, most likely. And so, we think basic things, we don't need to even mention them or talk about them because they're just second nature to us in our business. I've probably rattled off a few terms today just because I'm in the marketing world where people are like, what's this guy talking about? Because we get caught up in our own language. But if we think about from our customer standpoint, somebody that's especially on the residential side, if they've never done, a project in their home before, they literally know nothing, And so even answering all these basic things, suddenly it's going to really irritate your competitors because they're going to go, well, that's not unique or that's not special, but you're the one answering the question and they're the ones looking for it. So
yeah.
Try to dissect, like, what are the common things that are just so basic, and those will help.
Yeah. The, one thing that this comes from my own experience. One of the things that I can feel the feedback coming to me already saying, Dom, I'm good with my hands. I'm not good at writing stuff. I don't like writing stuff. How do I get written articles? I mean, what's a smart and efficient way, maybe a trick or a hack that a lot of people haven't figured out on how to get really good content written about what they do?
Okay. So I'll give you the kind of the traditional answer, which I think is a good answer, and then I'll give you the one that I hope is like the hack that you're looking for. So the first one is, there are plenty of freelancers out there. Go to Upwork or Fiverr. There's a bunch of them. Find a freelance writer and just say, hey, here's the topic that I want to cover. Can you go write it? And then you can like draft it and polish it up, but they've done all the heavy lifting, so you don't have to write it from scratch. So that's one way. Obviously, there's agencies out there that do writing too. That's another way. But basically, that's one option, is go find somebody else that's going to write it for you.
Yeah.
Option number two, which is hopefully the hack that you're looking for, is do audio and transcribe it. So sit down. I mean, if you want just super, super basic, pull up your phone, hit the little audio recorder, and just start talking about a topic, and then send it off to somebody on Fiverr to transcribe it for $5, and then, clean it up a little bit. But now you didn't have to write it, which is typically the hard part. But if you can just speak about it, which most of us can because it's second nature to us, it's what we know, it's what we do. You can just say, okay, I want to talk about this, and just start out your audio and just say, hey, I'm going to talk about this topic. Here's what you need to know, and then have somebody else transcribe it. And that typically takes a lot less time too. If you sit down to write, if you're not a writer, that's going to take a while, but you could probably knock out a blog post worth of content in 5 minutes of talking.
Yeah, it's not hard. Now, the websites that you just talked about, Fiverr and Upwork, for those of you listening who haven't used offshore contractors or contractors in general, the websites that Spencer's talking about are a place where you go to find those independent consultants. So Fiverr is spelled with 2 R's at the end, so FIVERR.com. And just this week, I've referred 2 clients to go there. One to get logos designed, because they do logo design there. He needed a spinning video intro logo, and I think he hired somebody for $11 to do a video intro logo. It's 11.
Totally. Yeah, it's incredible.
$11 US for those of you listening outside of America. But it's $11, but it looks like $1 million. So that's the first thing. And the other one needed a writer. And writing is okay on Fiverr. There's differences between Fiverr and Upwork. Upwork.com is another contractor website, and you can go and find lawyers there. You can find people that will do SketchUp, Microvellum, 3D graphics and modeling. You can find all sorts of people there. And so if you're interested, go to those websites. That's what Spencer's talking about, is leverage what you know and leverage what you don't and find somebody who will do it for you. And it's very inexpensive, but the return is high.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're obviously not in the business of writing blogs, so let's find an efficient way to tackle that, but one that's going to benefit us on the marketing side.
Yeah. There's a lot here, a lot of information for people.
Lots to unpack. Yeah, it's a big world. And, just like I said earlier, I'm kind of in the weeds on this marketing stuff, so I'm just able to speak to it. But it's the same way for, everyone, that's listening. You have a wealth of knowledge. And I think that's the big takeaway for me, is that you're really just trying to brain dump all of that information onto your website in an organized fashion. But I mean, really, that's what allows people to find your site. But also it allows people that once they get to your site to kind of get in that research mode and click around and go, wow, this is great. I'm getting all this information. Oh, wow, I need to hire somebody to do this. I'm going to talk to these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to find the pros and wherever you find them. Hey, if somebody does want to do this stuff or ask you another question, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way to get connected with us is just check out our website, builderfunnel.com. But we also, for anybody listening, be happy to just do a website review for you. So no obligation or anything like that. We just book, 30, 40 minutes, and we'll pull up your website together, just do a screen share and show you areas for improvement. And so worst case scenario, you walk away with a bunch of tips on things that you can improve your website on.
Yeah. And all of our websites could use improvement. I mean, there's so many changes that are happening now. And that's another topic altogether on the changes.
The big one. Yeah, we might have to tackle that one down the road.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Spencer, thank you very much for joining us here today. I always appreciate having you on, because you're a thought leader in this industry too. So
well, thank you. Yeah,
it's working for you.
No, I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, hopefully people can tell I love talking about this. I love teaching about it too, just because I feel like there's kind of a gap in knowledge, and there is so much to learn. And so I think there's a lot to be gained in this industry, because generally people are slower to adopt things like this. And so you can really put yourself ahead of the competition if you start to put these things into play.
Yeah, if everybody's got a weakness, you only have to get a little bit stronger to be the strongest guy in the pack.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Typically, all trades are weak at online presence. So having even a little bit of a better online presence just makes you a superstar.
Yeah, like I said earlier with the reviews, if everyone in your town has, 1 or 2 and you have 5 or 6, like, there you go. And 6 is not that many reviews, so it's an achievable number.
Not that hard. Just make sure if you ask your mom to do the reviews that she doesn't say that she's your mom in the review.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the main takeaway from today.
Yeah. All right, Spencer, thanks very much. You have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thanks, Tom. See ya.